Hello, this is Caitlin Hosman, and she is here to present her findings on psychological manipulation. So, what was your first step into exploring this field?
Thanks for having me on the show. First, I started off with my research question of how psychological manipulation affects the body and how it can limit the social lives of people and promote ignorance.
In what ways can it affect the human body?
To clarify, psychological manipulation can be forced upon a person by a government or, in a more domestic setting, by a parent or spouse. In the house, it is considered emotional abuse. In a recent study done by Rosanna Norman, she compiled data from across the world and looked into how non-sexual abuse impacts a child's health negatively, and concluded that it increased the risk for mental disorders, suicide attempts, STIs, and drug use. This ultimately concludes that psychological manipulation can lead to mental illnesses where the normal brain pathways are altered and can lead to drug use, which decreases efficiency of the brain's pathways.
So how does psychological manipulation from the government affect the people?
And the totalitarianism government from Britannica, it cites examples from the Mauryan Empire and Nazi Germany. Totalitarianism is a government where it limits all individuality and is oppressive in a single party. Social institutions are taken out, which leads to the decline of the social structure, leading to uniformity in the belief of the party. Dissent is not permitted and viewed as bad, and if anyone disagrees, the government will swiftly take care of them, usually by violence. Therefore, the people eventually become mindless soldiers, believing anything the government tells them.
How does this psychological manipulation affect those in North Korea?
In the article about life inside North Korea, Lawrence describes how the North Korean government portrays their leaders as godlike throughout their country. They constantly remind their citizens about their outstanding military reputation, with billboards dominating the streets, increasing national pride. School children are taught from a young age that the government is benevolent and works for the interest of the people. Their propaganda techniques, known as juche, build up the people and discourages international aid, even though famine and starvation are a common theme. This supports the point that the government controls reality and history. Their propaganda can be perceived as psychological manipulation. The needs of the people are clearly being ignored, which alters their brains and inhibits normal body function, which leads to a decline of life.
Do you have any concluding words?
Overall, psychological manipulation can be in two forms: emotional abuse and in government propaganda. This stress can make people more inclined to mental illnesses, do drugs, and suicide. Government propaganda makes people unaware of the danger that they are in and live their lives full of ignorance. They do not know any better, but are still under extreme physical conditions. People become one person and indistinguishable among one another.
All right, that is all the time we have for this segment. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.